Max Verstappen's rise in Formula One has been meteoric. From his debut at 17 to becoming a multi-world champion, he's consistently pushed the limits of what's possible on track. So, here are 25 times Verstappen showed why he's the best driver in the world. Max Verstappen's first F1 win was pure mayhem. At 18, he'd just been catapulted into the Red Bull seat from Toro Rosso. The 2016 Spanish Grand Prix kicked off with drama. Both Mercedes cars wiped out, leaving Max suddenly in the lead. For 60 grueling laps, he fended off a relentless Kimi Raikkonen. Max's tyres were shot, his legs cramping from the pressure. He counted down each agonizing lap, driving on what felt like ice. In the pits, his dad's nose was bleeding from the sheer stress.
Yes! Yes! Unbelievable, Max. Unbelievable.
Crossing the finish line, he clinched more than just a race win. He became F1's youngest victor ever, transforming from a kid without a driver's license to an F1 champion in less than a year. It wasn't just a lucky day, it was raw talent announcing itself to the world. Max Verstappen had arrived, and F1 would never be the same. Brazil 2021 was Max Verstappen at his best. Hamilton was coming at him fast, but Max wasn't about to roll over. He drove that Red Bull like it was an extension of himself, always in the right spot to keep Hamilton guessing. The big moment was at turn 4. Hamilton got a good run, but Max wasn't having any of it. He went in deep, using every inch of track and then some. It was hard racing pure and simple. Max's car control was insane. He was right on the limit, but never over it. And he always knew where Hamilton was, like he had eyes in the back of his head. Max showed he could stand up to the best, giving as good as he got. No fancy moves, just raw, gutsy racing. It's a kind of driving that reminds you why F1 is so damn exciting.
At this moment in time, Verstappen is weaving all over the road and he's going to force Hamilton wide again, and Hamilton can't quite get past on the entry into turn 4.
Miami 2023 showed why Max is such a force. He messed up in qualifying and started 9th, with Perez on pole. But Max didn't let it faze him. He got to work right away, pulling off a slick double move on Magnussen and Leclerc. From there, he just kept moving up. The real kicker was catching Perez. His teammate had pole, but Max hunted him down and passed him like it was nothing. By the finish, he was over 5 seconds ahead, starting 9th and winning that convincingly.
Max Verstappen wins the Miami Grand Prix with a masterclass of performance. 9th on the grid to the top step of the podium.
That's not just luck, it's Max doing what he does best, turning a bad situation into a win. He made a tough track and a bad start look easy. That's the kind of drive that reminds you why he's at the top of his game right now. China 2017 was when Max really showed what he could do in the wet. He started way back in 16th after some engine trouble in qualifying, but as soon as the lights went out, it was like he hit fast forward. First lap alone, he jumped up 9 spots to 7th. The track was still damp, but Max found grip where no one else could. He didn't stop there. By lap 11, he'd worked his way up to 2nd. Only mistake was locking up and letting Vettel through when his tyres were going off. But still, 16th to 3rd, that's not just good driving, that's a championship level drive. What made it special was how he did it. Plenty of overtakes, including some slick moves on Vettel and his teammate Ricciardo. In conditions where most drivers were just trying not to crash, Max was out there racing like it was a sunny day.
Max Verstappen from the start.
He almost had no revs on there. It's like a video game, isn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't just fans noticing either. After the race, you had people calling him one of the best ever in the wet. Pretty big talk for a 19-year-old. But on days like that, it's hard to argue. And like David Coulthard said after the race, his drive was nothing short of spectacular. Japan 2022 was when Max sealed the deal on his 2nd title. He showed up knowing he could clinch it, so the pressure was on. But Max, being Max, he didn't let it get to him. He nailed pole, which is always a good start, and when the lights went out, Leclerc tried to jump him, but Max wasn't having it. He held his ground into turn 1. Then the rain hit hard. They red flagged the race, and everyone was wondering if we'd even get a finish. But once they got going again, Max was in a league of his own. In just 28 laps, barely half a race, he pulled out a 27-second lead. That's almost a second per lap on everyone else, in the wet at Suzuka.
Max Verstappen has taken the checkered flag to win the Japanese Grand Prix.
He crossed the line not even sure if he'd won the title. There was some confusion about the points, but in the end it was enough. He had a second world championship in the bag and he did it in style. Classic Max, when the pressure's on, he just drives faster. Brazil 2016 was when Max really shut the haters up. Interlagos is tough enough when it's dry, but that day it was like driving in a water park. Max started off strong, getting past Rosberg for P2, but then Red Bull gambled on intermediates and it didn't work out. He had to pit again for wets, dropping him to 14th. That's when the real show started. He started carving through the field like everyone else was standing still. The way he was finding grip was unreal, taking lines no one else even thought of trying. Two moves really stood out, one on Vettel and another on Perez near the end. He was carrying so much more speed than anyone else, it was like he was driving a different car. But the moment everyone remembers, that save. He nearly lost it completely, looked like he was headed straight for the wall, somehow he caught it, a few centimeters either way, and would be telling a different story. He ended up P3 behind the Mercedes guys, but the way he got there, that's what had everyone talking. It wasn't just fast, it was smart, gutsy driving. That day, Max proved he wasn't just quick, he was the real deal.
Come on, lad, you can do it. He's done it. There you go.
And the crowd are cheering like crazy underneath us.
Even Martin Brundle, former F1 driver and commentator, called it one of the greatest drives I've ever seen in Formula 1. Austria 2021 was Max showing the world what a perfect F1 weekend looks like. He didn't just win, he put on a show. He stuck it on pole and then everything just checked out. Led every single lap, nobody could touch him. The gap was so big, he even had time for a bonus pit stop near the end just to grab the fastest lap. That's what you call a grand slam in F1. Pole, win, fastest lap, leading every lap. His first one. The crowd loved it too. The place was packed with Dutch fans, all decked out in orange. It must have felt like a home race for him.
The Dutch fans have come to Austria to see him win again. They came, they saw, he conquered. Max Verstappen wins the Austrian Grand Prix.
It wasn't just a win, it was a statement. Max was letting everyone know this was his year and he wasn't messing around. 32 points clear in the championship after that. That's the kind of performance that wins titles. Singapore 2015 showed Verstappen's resilience and confidence, even as a rookie. After stalling on the grid and falling a lap down, he fought back through the field, demonstrating strong pace throughout. This was his very first Singapore GP, which, as I'm sure you know, is one of the most demanding races on the calendar, and he was able to fight back from P20 to finishing P8. But the controversy came later when Toro Rosso asked him to let teammate Sainz pass. Verstappen refused, believing he had the pace to hold position.
Okay, we need to swap positions. No! Max, just do it.
It was a bold move for a 17-year-old defying team orders. While it sparked debate, it also showed Verstappen's self-belief and competitive spirit. He wasn't there just to follow orders, he was there to race. Silverstone 2020. The second race there that year was when Max pulled a rabbit out of the hat. Nobody saw this one coming. Mercedes had been dominating all season. They were a second clear in qualifying and everyone was expecting another easy 1-2 for them. But Max had other ideas. He started third, but Red Bull made a smart call putting him in on the hard tyres. Turns out that was the magic trick. While the Mercedes were struggling with their tyres in the heat, Max's car was loving it. He wasn't just keeping up, he was faster. He picked off Hamilton, then Bottas, and just checked out. By the end, he was 11 seconds clear of Hamilton, in a slower car at Silverstone against Mercedes. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement. Max showed everyone that day that given half a chance, he could take it to the best. He didn't just beat Mercedes, he made it look easy. That race changed the whole picture.
To win the 70th anniversary Grand Prix, Verstappen gives Red Bull the win.
Suddenly, it wasn't just about Mercedes anymore. Max had crashed the party and he wasn't planning on leaving. Silverstone 2016 was when Max showed he could mix it up with the big boys. Hamilton was off in his own world up front, but the real action was behind him. The race started wet, and that's when Max came alive. As soon as they let them race, he was all over Rosberg's Mercedes. Didn't take him long to make his move either. On lap 16, Max pulled off something special. He went around the outside of Rosberg through Beckett's, not just any corner, we're talking about one of the fastest, trickiest sections of the track, in the wet, on a Mercedes.
Look how Rosberg's struggling there. We don't often see a pass on this part of the track. Round at Chapel, there he goes.
It wasn't just brave, it was smart. He set it up perfectly, carried more speed through the corners and made it stick. That's the kind of move that makes you sit up and take notice. He held on to second for a while too, until Rosberg got him back later. But that overtake, that was the moment of the race. It showed everyone that Max wasn't just quick, he had the guts to go wheel to wheel with a championship contender. Monaco 2023 was when Max pulled out a lap that left everyone scratching their heads. Monaco's always been a tough track for Red Bull, but Max wasn't having any of that. Going into his last lap, he was sitting 5th. Alonso had just put in a flyer and it looked like the old master had pole in the bag. Max was 2 tenths down after the second sector. That's when he decided to go full send. That last sector was something else. He was millimeters from the walls, probably kissing them a few times. The kind of lap where you hold your breath the whole time. Somehow, he found over 2 tenths in just that last bit of track. Ended up pipping Alonso by less than a tenth.
Verstappen crosses the line to take pole position. Unbelievable!
Even Horner, who's seen it all, called it one of Max's best ever laps. That's saying something. Austria 2019 was classic Max, turning a disaster into a triumph. He messed up the start, dropping from 2nd to 7th. Most drivers would have written off the win right there. Not Max though. He clawed his way back, picking off cars one by one. Red Bull played it smart too, pitting him later than the others. That gave him fresher tyres for the end of the race. By the time he caught Leclerc, it was game on. First attempt, Leclerc held him off, but Max wasn't done. Next lap, he went for it again at turn 3. It was hard racing, real close to the edge. They touched, Leclerc went wide, and Max took the lead.
He turned in on me.
Mate, there was nothing wrong with that, mate. Nothing wrong with it.
What the hell is that?
It was controversial, sure. People argued about it for hours after the race. But that's Max for you. He sees a gap, he goes for it. No hesitation. 13. Imola 2021. Imola 2021 was Max showing he could handle anything thrown at him and finally breaking his Italian curse. The weather was crazy, wet start, drying track, then rain again, perfect conditions for chaos. Max nailed the start, he got the jump on Hamilton from P3, went wheel to wheel in the first turn and came out in front. "I surprised myself," he said later. Gutsy move, but that's Max for you. Then he had to keep it together on a tricky track. One mistake and Hamilton would have been right there. But Max, cool as you like, he just kept putting in lap after lap, no drama. The race got red flag after a big crash between Bottas and Russell. That could have thrown him off his game, but Max just used it to reset and go again. When they restarted, he had a heart-stopping moment, nearly losing it while warming up his tyres, but he caught it and didn't miss a beat after that. Controlled the race from the front, didn't give Hamilton a sniff. By the end, he pulled out a 22-second lead. In those conditions, that's not just winning, that's dominating.
Max Verstappen, for the first time in his career, takes victory in Italy, and it was a victory by a long, long margin.
The 2019 German GP was a race that had it all. The weather was nuts. Rain, then dry, then rain again. It was like the track was trying to take everyone out, and it nearly did. Hamilton, Leclerc, Bottas, they all got caught out. Max, he just drove like it was a Sunday cruise. Sure, he had a rough start, dropping back a bit, but that's when Max comes alive. He just started picking off cars one by one. While everyone else was sprinting or hitting walls, Max was threading the needle. He had one spin early on, but caught it like it was nothing. After that, it was a masterclass. He didn't just win, he dominated. Fastest lap too, and the fans knew it. They voted him driver of the day, no surprises there. It wasn't just about being fast, it was about being smart, keeping it on the track when no one else could. Max made it look easy on a day when it was anything but.
It is fireworks and flames for Max Verstappen, the winner of the German Grand Prix.
Austin 2015 was when Max showed everyone he wasn't just a kid with potential, he was already the real deal. In a Toro Rosso that had no business running up front, Max put on a show. He squeezed every ounce of performance out of that car, made it to Q3 when his teammate was nowhere close, but qualifying was just the warm-up. Race day, Max was in a league of his own. While the big boys were fighting it out up front, Max was mixing it up with them in a car that shouldn't have been anywhere near that battle. He was fighting Ferraris, holding off world champions, and making moves that had everyone watching in disbelief. And he wasn't just fast, he was smart, managing his tyres, picked his battles, and drove like a veteran.
Have a little go into the left-hander here, he does, pulls down into the inside. Sebastian Vettel has to yield as Max Verstappen in the Toro Rosso now gets past the Ferrari.
Fourth place in a Toro Rosso, that's not supposed to happen, but Max made it look easy. He even said after the race, this was the maximum we could achieve. Talk about underselling it. What made it special was how he did it. No mistakes, no drama, just pure driving skill. He was fighting for podium positions in a midfield car. Hungary 2022 was Max showing everyone why he's the champ. He turned what could have been a disaster into a masterclass. Qualifying was a mess, P10 on the grid. Most drivers would have written off their chances right there. But Max, he just saw it as a challenge. From the moments the lights went out, he was on a mission, picking off cars left and right, making moves that had you shaking your head. But it wasn't just raw speed, it was smart driving. Red Bull nailed the strategy, and Max executed it perfectly. He was patient when he needed to be, aggressive when the moment was right, even threw in a 360-degree spin just to keep things interesting, and still came out on top. By the end, he'd gone from P10 to P1, making it look easy, finishing nearly 8 seconds clear of Hamilton.
What a great victory for Max Verstappen and Red Bull.
Led the 50th race of his career today, takes the 28th victory of his career.
Imola 2022 was Max showing everyone how it's done. From start to finish, he was in a league of his own. He kicked it off by winning the sprint race on Saturday with a fantastic overtake on Leclerc in the sprint race. But that was just the warm-up. Come Sunday, with the track wet and tricky, Max was in his element. He nailed the start, pulling away while everyone else was struggling to keep it on the track. His teammate Perez was the only one who could even keep him in sight. As the track dried out, that's when Max really showed his class. He was putting in lap times that had everyone else scratching their heads. Even when they switched to slicks, nobody could touch him. The icing on the cake, he lapped Hamilton. That's not something you see every day. By the end, he was 16 seconds clear of Perez in second, a totally dominant performance.
This has been a very comfortable win indeed for the defending world champion, the reigning world champion.
Malaysia 2015 was a weekend to remember for Verstappen. Qualifying was wet, tricky. He puts it 6th, just behind the Red Bulls, in a car that had no business being up there. Race day, he doesn't back down. Had some issues early on, but sorts it out. Starts picking off more experienced drivers, finishes 7th ahead of both Red Bulls. He becomes the youngest to score points in F1. But Max, he's not fussed about the record. He's just happy with the result, knows there's more to come. It wasn't just about the finish, it was how he did it. Fighting hard, making smart moves, managing the car, driving like someone with years more experience. Malaysia 2015 was Max proving he belonged in F1, not because of his age, but because of his talent. It was clear this kid was going places. Brazil practice was when Max showed his car control was on another level. It was Interlagos and Max was pushing. He loses it coming out of the final corner. Most drivers, that's it, you're in the wall. But Max, he just catches it. It wasn't just a save, it was like he was dancing with the car. Full opposite lock, and he just drives out of it like it's nothing. The crazy part, he was so calm about it. For him, it was just another day at the office, but for everyone watching, it was jaw-dropping. That save wasn't just luck, it was pure skill. The kind of car control you can't teach. Silverstone 2019 was wheel-to-wheel racing at its finest. Max and Leclerc put on a show that had everyone on the edge of their seats. They were going at it from the get-go, pushing each other to the absolute limit, sometimes beyond. It was like watching two heavyweight boxers trading blows. Max was his usual aggressive self, but Leclerc wasn't backing down. If anything, he was even more fired up after losing out to Max in Austria. They were millimetres apart, lap after lap, into Copse, through Maggots and Beckett, neither giving an inch. It was hard but fair. This is what F1 is all about. Max thought Leclerc was maybe a bit too aggressive at times, but he wasn't complaining. He gave as good as he got. In the end, Max didn't get the result he wanted after the tangle with Vettel. But that battle with Leclerc, that's the kind of racing that reminds you why these guys are the best in the world.
This is absolutely brilliant racing between two supremely talented drivers, and they are giving it everything here. Here comes Verstappen again. He's almost pushed onto the grass. Somehow Leclerc stayed ahead. They do touch wheels as Charles Leclerc barges his way through, and Max Verstappen hangs out round the outside to try and regain the place, which he does.
Austin 2018 was Max showing why he should never count him out. He messed up in qualifying, broke his suspension and started 18th. From the moments the lights went out, he was on a mission. By the end of lap 1, he was already up to 9th. That's not just good driving, that's threading the needle through chaos. Red Bull played it smart with a strategy, starting him on softs. But it was Max who made it work. He's managing those tyres, pushing when he needs to, saving when he can. The real magic came at the end. He's got Raikkonen in front, Hamilton breathing down his neck, both world champions, both in faster cars. But Max, he's not backing down. For the last 2 laps, it was pure racing. Max is defending like his life depends on it.
Now, round 10, 17, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen going wheel to wheel, and Verstappen on the better line, getting away from Hamilton as he goes wide.
Ends up P2 from P18. That's not just a good drive, that's a masterclass. Saudi 2022 was Max and Charles putting on a masterclass in wheel-to-wheel racing. It was like watching a chess match at 200 miles per hour. They were at it for lap after lap. Max would close in with DRS, Charles would defend like his life depended on it. It was clean, it was hard, it was everything F1 should be. Max tried everything. He'd get past, but Charles would come right back at him. They were inches apart, pushing each other to the absolute limit. The key moment came with a few laps to go. Max played it smart, made sure he got DRS at just the right spot. He finally made the move stick into turn 1. But it wasn't over. Charles kept coming right to the last corner of the last lap. Max had to be inch perfect to keep him behind.
The final corner, Max Verstappen emerges in front. Such a close battle once again, and this time around it's Max Verstappen that wins out.
And it wasn't just about speed, it was about strategy, about knowing when to push and when to save. Max and Charles showed everyone what the future of F1 looks like. Monaco 2018 was Max turning a nightmare into something impressive. He crashed in practice, missed qualifying and had to start dead last. At Monaco, where passing is nearly impossible. Most drivers would have written the race off, not Max. He saw it as a challenge. From the moment the lights went out, he was on a mission. Monaco's tight streets, not a problem. He was threading the needle, making moves where there shouldn't have been any. His favourite spot was the chicane after the tunnel. He'd set them up perfectly, then pounce. One by one, he picked them off. It wasn't just about raw speed, it was smart, calculated driving. He knew when to push and when to be patient. In a place where one mistake means the wall, Max was flawless. By the end, he'd gone from 20th to 9th at Monaco. That's not just good driving, that's making the impossible look easy.
He's Max Verstappen, down towards the chicane he goes. This time he's cut the chicane but comes back over the curb and still stays ahead of Carlos Sainz.
Japan 2023 was Max proving that on a Saturday, he's in a league of his own. He wasn't just fast, he was in a different league, nearly 6/10 clear of second place. That's not just beating the competition, that's crushing them. The way Max was threading the needle through those high-speed S's was something else. It looked like the car was on the rails. But it wasn't just the car, it was Max squeezing every last 10th out of it. What made it special was how he made it look easy. He talked about being on the limit, but in control. That's Max in a nutshell, always dancing on the edge, but never falling off.
Verstappen in a league of his own. Verstappen's 9th pole position of the season. One of the very best.
Abu Dhabi 2021 was the kind of race that reminds you why you love F1. It had everything: drama, controversy, and a last lap shootout for the championship. Max didn't have the best start. Hamilton got the jump on him, and then there was that moment at turn 7. But Max didn't let it faze him. He kept pushing, kept fighting. For most of the race, it looked like it was slipping away. Hamilton was in control, building a lead, but Max never gave up. He and the team kept looking for any opportunity. Then came that safety car. Suddenly, Max had a lifeline. New soft tyres, 1 lap to go, everything on the line. This was his moment and he seized it. That last lap was pure Max. Aggressive, fearless, inch perfect. He made the move stick into turn 5 and that was it. World champion.
Verstappen, far enough back, he's going to make the lunge down the inside. Hamilton sees him coming. It's a late lunge by Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race.
It wasn't just about that last lap though, it was about the whole season. The battles with Hamilton, the wins, the setbacks. Max had thrown everything at it, and in that moment, it all paid off. Now, these 25 moments capture Verstappen's exceptional skill, adaptability, and racing instinct. Whether it's overcoming poor qualifying positions, mastering challenging conditions, or going wheel to wheel with champions, Max has proven his worth time and time again. Well, this has been Racers Reverie, and we'll see you in the next one.